In this video, I am going to show you why you need to pay very close attention to how you do your calculations. Alright, so whether you're doing your calculation at the row level or if you're doing your calculation by aggregating it first, makes a very big difference, and this will make sense in just a second. Let's go ahead and calculate our profit per order. So basically what we are calculating here is how much profit we are generating per order, and we are going to do that by profit divided by quantity. And I'm just going to do this here. Right click, create calculated field. You can also create calculated field from this drop down menu, and we are going to call this profit or quantity, because we already have a field called profit per order here. And in this case, we are going to do average profit divided by average quantity. Alright, so basically in this calculation, we are taking the average of profit and then dividing it by the average of the quantity. So we are doing the aggregation first before doing the division. And we are going to click OK. And let's just create a simple visualization real quick to see what this looks like. So in this case, we are going to be looking at segment with subcategory. And actually, I only want the home office segment. So I'm going to drag segment to filter. Actually, I'm just going to right click on segment and do show filter. And I just want the home office segment. And now I'm just going to drag profit per quantity, which is what I just created, and put it here. So as you can see, right, this is what our graph looks like. Now, if I do this calculation differently, so this AGG simply means that we have already done the aggregation for this field and we can't do any further aggregation for it. Now if I do this differently, and let's say right and go here, create calculated field, and let's call this test profit. And now instead of doing average profit divided by average quantity, we are going to just do profit what happened? I'm just going to do profit divided by quantity. We are going to click OK. Now if we drag this test profit to a sum, what you notice here is like in this one that we just did at the row level. So if I right click and edit, so this right here is called row level calculation. So it's going to take the profit for every single row and divide it by the quantity for every single row. Okay, but what we did earlier, when we do average, this is aggregation, right? We are aggregating this before we do the division. But and as you can notice, when we do row level calculation, we can change the aggregation method in the view. So when we aggregate first, we don't have that option because the aggregation is already done. But in this case, we can change the aggregation method, and let's change it to average. And as you can see here, the aggregation during calculation looks very similar to aggregation afterward, after doing row level division. But pay very close attention to machines. As you can see here, when we did the aggregation first, before we do the division, machines give us negative. But when we did the aggregation after doing row level calculation, the machine came out to be positive. Alright, but this right here is the correct one. And I'm gonna show you why in a second. Let's just take profit and put it right there. As you can see, even the total profit is negative for machines. And if we look at the average and just click on machine, you can see that the average profit for machines is negative. So basically, the average profit per quantity can't possibly be positive. So this right here is the correct calculation. And this is the difference between doing aggregation when you're doing your calculation or doing aggregation after you've done your calculation. So this is row level calculation, this right here. This is row level calculation, and then we do the aggregation after, right? And this right here is doing the aggregation before we do the division. So you need to be very careful how you do your calculation and think about what you're trying to achieve. And I can even show you this on a tabular form. So if you click this button right here, it duplicates your current workbook. And this is the old workbook, and this is the duplicated form. And I'm just going to take this out. And I'm just going to take profit per quantity to text. And I'm going to take profit to text, or just put it here. And I'm just going to take test profit to text. So I want this to be average for accurate comparison. Let's go and expand this a little bit. So you can see right here that average profit for machines is negative. Profit per quantity is negative, but the average test profit is positive. This is because we did this aggregation at the row level, and we did this calculated field at the row level, but we aggregated everything before we did the division on this one. Now, there are other ways for you to do calculations too. So if I go ahead and duplicate this again, and let's just look at average profit here. So if we wanted to, we could double click this right here and say average profit here divided by average. And even if you're typing in your calculations from this view, you still get autocomplete. So you can do average parentheses. Let's just use cells here. And then we click enter. All right. Now the only problem is that when you do this, when you do your calculations right here, whatever you do here is only applied to what's in your view. It is not added to your dimensions or measures. But to add this calculation to your dimensions and measures, you just drag it over, and then to ask you to give it a name. So this is average profit to sales. Now this calculation may not be correct. It probably should be sales divided by profit. But I just wanted to show you that you could do your calculations right here in the view, and you still get autocomplete. But whatever calculations that you do right here at this level is only added, is only available in the view unless you drag it and add it to your measures area and then rename it. So basically, this is the difference between aggregating your data before doing your calculation versus just doing your calculation at the row level and choosing the aggregation method afterward. You need to think about that and pay attention to that. If not, it could screw up everything. That's it for this video, and I'll see you on the next one.